Hi everybody, today we are going to be reading and annotating a short story called Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes. We are going to be annotating for our notice and note signposts with a specific focus on the different elements of plot. As I am reading and annotating, you also need to be reading and annotating your copy of the story. So this is Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes. She was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in it but hammer and nails. It had a long strap, and she carried it slung across her shoulder. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and she was walking alone when a boy ran up behind her and tried to snatch her purse. The strap broke with the single tug the boy gave it from behind. But the boy's weight and the weight of the purse combined caused him to lose his balance, so, instead of taking off full blast as he had hoped, the boy fell on his back on the sidewalk, and his legs flew up. The large woman simply turned around and kicked him right square in his blue jean sitter. Then she reached down, picked the boy up by his shirt front, and shook him until his teeth rattled. So we are going to pause here and make a few annotations. The first thing I'm going to annotate is the very first part of the first sentence. She was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in it. And I am going to write, aha, because we learn one of our characters. A woman with a purse is one of our characters. I'm also going to highlight where it says it was about 11 o'clock at night and she was walking alone, because this, aha, gives us our setting. So she is walking down the street. She has a large purse. She's walking alone. It's late at night. And then we see that a boy comes up and tries to steal her purse. So I'm going to highlight where it says when a boy ran up behind her and tried to snatch her purse. And again, I'm going to label that aha. That's an important event. A boy tries to rob her. However, we see that the boy was unsuccessful. He ended up falling down, so I'm going to highlight where it says the boy fell on his back on the sidewalk and his legs flew up. And again, that's an important event. I'm going to write, aha, the boy falls. And then we see that after he falls down, the woman, she kicks him while he's there. Aha, an important moment. The woman kicks the boy. And the very last thing that happens in this paragraph, she picks up the boy and she shakes him. So, aha, another important event. The woman picks up the boy. Okay, so we have a lot of important events already just in our first paragraph, so we are going to continue on. After that, the woman said, "Pick up my pocketbook, boy, and give it here." She still held him, but she bent down enough to permit him to stoop and pick up her purse. Then she said, "Now ain't you ashamed of yourself?" Firmly gripped by his shirt front, the boy said, "Yes'm." The woman said, "What did you want to do it for?" The boy said, "I didn't aim to." She said, "You lie." By that time, 2 or 3 people passed, stopped, turned to look, and some stood watching. "If I turn you loose, will you run?" asked the woman. "Yes'm," said the boy. Okay, so we're going to pause there, and we are going to highlight where it says, "Yes'm," said the boy. So in this moment, she asks the boy, "If I let you go, are you gonna run away?" And he said, "Yes, I will." And this is a contrast and a contradiction. This is a contrast and a contradiction because we wouldn't expect the boy to be honest. We would expect him to say, "Oh no, I won't run away," so that she'll let him go. But he's honest, which is not what we would expect. So that is contrast and contradiction. "Then I won't turn you loose," said the woman. She did not release him. "I'm very sorry, lady. I'm sorry," whispered the boy. "Mm-hmm. And your face is dirty. I got a great mind to wash your face for you. Ain't you got nobody home to tell you to wash your face?" "No'm," said the boy. Then it will get washed this evening, said the large woman, starting up the street, dragging the frightened boy behind her. He looked as if he were 14 or 15, frail and willow-wild, in tennis shoes and blue jeans. So I'm going to highlight here where it says he looked as if he were 14 or 15, because we're learning more about one of the characters. We're learning more information about a character. The boy is a teenager. The woman said, "You ought to be my son. I would teach you right from wrong. Least I can do right now is to wash your face. Are you hungry?" "No," said the being dragged boy. "I just want you to turn me loose." "Was I bothering you when I turned that corner?" asked the woman. "No." "But you put yourself in contact with me," said the woman. "If you think that that contact is not going to last a while, you got another thought coming. When I get through with you, sir, you are going to remember Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones." Sweat popped out on the boy's face, and he began to struggle. Mrs. Jones stopped, jerked him around in front of her, put a half Nelson about his neck, and continued to drag him up the street. When she got to her door, she dragged the boy inside, down a hall, and into a large kitchen-furnished room at the rear of the house. She switched on the light and left the door open. The boy could hear other roomers laughing and talking in the large house. Some of their doors were open, too, so he knew he and the woman were not alone. The woman still had him by the neck in the middle of her room. Okay, so I am going to highlight back at the beginning of that paragraph where it says Mrs. Jones stopped, jerked him around in front of her, put a half Nelson about his neck, and continued to drag him up the street. Because this is an aha moment, it's an important event. We see that Mrs. Jones drags him to her house. She said, "What is your name?" "Roger," answered the boy. Okay, so we learned that his name is Roger, so I'm going to highlight Roger. And I'm going to write aha. We learn the boy's name. "Then, Roger, you go to that sink and wash your face," said the woman, whereupon she turned him loose at last. Roger looked at the door, looked at the woman, looked at the door, and went to the sink. Okay, so I'm going to highlight where it says, "Then Roger, you go to that sink and wash your face," because we see, aha, Mrs. Jones makes Roger wash his face. And I'm also going to highlight where it says that Roger looked at the door, looked at the woman, looked at the door, and went to the sink. So in this moment, we would expect Roger to see the door and run away. But instead, he goes to the sink to go wash his face. So again, this is a contrast and contradiction, and I'm going to shorten contrast and contradiction to just be C and C, and you're welcome to do that as well, as long as you know that that means contrast and contradiction. Okay, we're going to write contrast and contradiction. Roger washes his face instead of running away. "Let the water run until it gets warm," she said. "Here's a clean towel." "You gonna take me to jail?" asked the boy, bending over the sink. "Not with that face. I would not take you nowhere," said the woman. "Here I am trying to get home to cook me a bite to eat, and you snatch my pocketbook. Maybe you ain't been to your supper either, late as it be, have you?" "There's nobody home at my house," said the boy. "Then we'll eat," said the woman. "I believe you're hungry, or been hungry, to try to snatch my pocketbook." "I wanted a pair of blue suede shoes," said the boy. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to highlight where it says I wanted a pair of blue suede shoes, because we learn why Roger was trying to steal Mrs. Jones's money. Aha. We, as the reader, come to learn something important. We learn why Roger tried to steal the purse. "Well, you didn't have to snatch my pocketbook to get some suede shoes," said Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones. "You could have asked me." "Ma'am?" The water dripping from his face, the boy looked at her. There was a long pause, a very long pause. After he had dried his face, and not knowing what else to do, dried it again. The boy turned around, wondering what next. The door was open. He could make a dash for it down the hall. He could run, 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 run. Okay, so I'm going to stop here where it says he could run, 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 run. And because we are repeating the same word, this is again and again. And the author chose to repeat the word run, run, run over and over again because Roger, he is considering running off. The woman was sitting on the daybed. After a while, she said, "I were young once, and I wanted things I could not get." So I'm going to pause. And this right here, I were young once, and I wanted things I could not get. Mrs. Jones is giving us a very short little memory moment. And this memory moment is from Mrs. Jones. And there was another long pause. The boy's mouth opened. Then he frowned, but not knowing he frowned. The woman said, "You thought I was going to say but, didn't you? You thought I was going to say, but I didn't snatch people's pocketbooks. Well, I wasn't going to say that." Pause. Silence. "I have done things too, which I would not tell you, son, neither tell God if he didn't already know. So you sit down while I fix us something to eat. You might run that comb through your hair so you will look presentable." Okay, so up at the beginning of this paragraph, she says, "You thought I was going to say but, didn't you? You thought I was going to say, but I didn't snatch people's pocketbooks." So that is what Roger expected Mrs. Jones to do. But she did something that the boy didn't expect. Okay, she didn't chastise him like that. So this is another contrast and contradiction, C&C. The woman did not do what Roger expected. In another corner of the room, behind a screen, was a gas plate and an icebox. Mrs. Jones got up and went behind the screen. The woman did not watch the boy to see if he was going to run now, nor did she watch her purse, which she left behind her on the daybed. Okay, so in this moment, Mrs. Jones is doing something really important. Okay, it says she's not watching the boy to see if he's going to run. She's not even watching her purse to make sure he doesn't steal it. Instead, Mrs. Jones is showing Roger she trusts him. Mrs. Jones is showing Roger she trusts him. But the boy took care to sit on the far side of the room where he thought she could easily see him out of the corner of her eye if she wanted to. He did not trust the woman not to trust him, and he did not want to be mistrusted now. So up to this point, Roger, he tried to steal Mrs. Jones's purse. He got dragged all the way to her house, and now we see him doing something unexpected. Now he actually wants this woman to trust him. So I'm going to highlight where it said, "and he did not want to be mistrusted now." And again, we have another contrast and contradiction because he wants Mrs. Jones to trust him. "Do you need somebody to go to the store?" asked the boy. "Maybe to get some milk or something?" "Don't believe I do," said the woman, "unless you just want sweet milk for yourself. I was going to make cocoa out of this canned milk I got here." "That would be fine," said the boy. She heated some lima beans and ham she had in the icebox, made the cocoa, and set the table. The woman did not ask the boy anything about where he lived or his folks or anything else that would embarrass him. Instead, as they ate, she told him about her job in a hotel beauty shop that stayed open late, what the work was like, and how all kinds of women came in and out, blondes, redheads, and Spanish. Then she cut him a half of her 10-cent cake. "Eat some more, son," she said. Okay, so in this moment, in this paragraph here, it says the woman did not ask the boy anything about where he lived or anything that would embarrass him. And instead, she tells him about her job. So we see that the woman cares about the boy. The the woman cares for the boy. She doesn't want to make him feel bad. She doesn't want to make him feel embarrassed. She's just trying to be kind. And we also see here where it says, as they ate, so that's just another important event. We see that they are eating dinner together. When they were finished eating, she got up and said, "Now here, take this $10 and buy yourself some blue suede shoes." So we are going to pause there, and we are going to highlight that, because this is a big moment. We are going to write, aha. In the end, she freely gives him the money. So the same money he tried to steal, she is now freely offering to give it to him. And she says, "And next time, do not make the mistake of latching onto my pocketbook, nor nobody else's, because shoes come by devilish like that will burn your feet." Okay, so we are going to highlight where it says, "and next time, do not make the mistake," all the way to the end of that sentence. And this is actually an example of words of the wiser. Okay, Mrs. Jones is telling Roger, "Don't steal. It's not worth it. Whenever you come by shoes like that, they will burn your feet." She's telling him, don't steal. "I got to get my rest now, but I wish you would behave yourself, son, from here on in." She led him down the hall to the front door and opened it. "Good night. Behave yourself, boy," she said, looking out into the street. The boy wanted to say something else other than "thank you, ma'am," to Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones, but he couldn't do so as he turned at the barren stoop and looked back at the large woman in the door. He barely managed to say thank you before she shut the door, and he never saw her again. So the final thing I'm going to highlight is where it says, he barely managed to say thank you before she shut the door, and he never saw her again. This is our final event. The boy tells her thank you. And that is the end of Thank You, Ma'am by Langston Hughes.